Here.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammaker, are you here?
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, are you here?
Here.
Commissioner Robinson, are you here? Commissioners, you should have received the minutes by email. Any changes or comments about the minutes in the last meeting?
To approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Commissioners, let us take a look at the agenda. Does anybody need to recuse themselves in consideration of any of these items? Is the order of these items? Okay. Agenda item 1514 now.
Okay, before we begin, if you are in the chat and you wish to comment on an item, please send the address of the property and your name to the window on your screen that says send chat here, and that we will log you in order to speak on a certain item. Okay, first up, we have a prelim for a new construction in Hyde Park. Andy. Okay, we have it's a single parcel. It's on the south side of Malancrot. And this is property. There was a house that was demolished there in like 19 to 2000. Next. Just some context. It's a mixed block. We have a lot of 2.5 story. We have a 1-2 story single, and also another single at the end. So it's a mixed block, mostly residential. The block's seeing a bit of rehab right now, so it's a really good block, and this is a nice project to kind of fill in these gaps. Next. Here's some street level context. The property will be going in the gap on the right. Across the street, you have a commercial garage and an empty lot as well. Next. This is for context looking west. The site in question is on the left. And you see we have a mix of sizes of houses, and the little guy on the right is at the end of the block at the same side of the street as the new construction. Next. Here's your site plan. As you can see, there's a little bit of a gap between the properties. There's kind of some odd side yards, the existing buildings, and this one's going to sit in the middle. But the setbacks are the same, a little bit wider side yards, but overall it addresses the street appropriately. Next. And this is the actual building. We work with Habitat on this. This is a good design where we got at this point. It started pretty rough. They work with us and the neighborhood, and so we are satisfied with this design. Brick front, the windows and doors will line up on the first floor and the second floor for the most part. The brick returns will go down the sides about 10 feet, which will be at least the distance to the next buildings over. Next. This is just showing the side elevations and the rear. Next. Okay, so overall, it complies with all the aspects we feel of the code. The fenestration is good, the material, the way it sets on the property. It has neighborhood support, and overall recommended approval. Have any questions from me on the design? Oh, I want to note one thing. You'll see on the elevation on the right down below, we've asked that they could do a exposed foundation plinth that kind of resembles what's to the left, and they're going to do that as well. So everything we've asked for them to do, they have done. So any questions?
Are they allowed to have tinted windows in that district?
They don't really say otherwise, but if it's something you like to address, we can. It doesn't say they can't. It talks about the materials of the windows themselves, but it doesn't address the glass.
No, it's just if they address it. And then what is that cornice made of?
It's offhand, I believe it is brick, but I probably I can look into it offhand. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, I'm sure you'll keep an eye on that. Looks like it might be 5 pound or something.
It could be 5 pound. They're cast sills, so I'm wondering if it's also a cast as well. So.
Oh, maybe. Thank you.
Questions from commissioners?
Motions that the preservation board grant preliminary approval to the project with condition that town of drawings details and exterior materials and review the approved by the Public Resources Office. Second.
Hearing none, I'm going to call roll. Commissioner Allen, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
Commissioner Khalid, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Ryan, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Chair abstains on this vote. 6 yeses, 1 abstention, the motion carries. Calling agenda item B.
Okay. We have a BPS referral to install fence gates at several park entrances over in Cronolette Park. You can see on the map above the locations, and down below is the detail of the actual gates themselves being used for traffic control, and other just general safety aspects. We obviously have support of the Alderman. She is here in support of the project as well. Any questions on it?
Alderman, you want to say something?
Sums it up.
Questions?
Could I say one thing? Shortly before the meeting started, I got a call, an email from BPS saying that another gate will be erected that they haven't designed yet for the YMCA, which is in the upper right of the slide. I'm wondering if the board would want to see that again, or just give a blanket to these kinds of gates.
Do they look alike?
They may not be exactly alike, but they'll be similar.
So model of containers. Questions from the motion to approve for us, the gate just mentioned.
I move that the Board of Public Service approve the proposed gates as well as the additional gate mentioned by.
For a second,
Second.
any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call a roll. Commissioner Allen, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Halligan, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Khalid, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Ryan, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman, sorry. Commissioner,
Yes.
and Alderman?
Yeah.
Chair abstains on this vote. There are 6 yeses, 1 abstention. The motion carries. Follows the agenda item C.
This is for the an encroachment for signs along Hampton from Chippewa down to Loughborough. You see the stretch of Hampton up on the map, and these are the signs in question they placed on light posts all the way down the block. Nice little Art Deco kind of design. It's to designate the Soha district along Hampton. Any questions on this one?
Any questions? Okay, this is agenda item C. Commissioner Hamilton, you got a motion?
Yes, I move that the consideration board recommend to the Board of Public Service the approval of the permit for the signs.
Do you want to add any extra signs to it?
We could add more if you'd like. I think the budget that probably will prohibit that, but no.
The motion is on hold for you in a second. I'm going to call it. Commissioner Allen, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Khalid, you vote yes or no? Alderman Ryan, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, you vote yes or no?
I abstain. Yes. That was a yes.
Chair abstains on this. There are 7 yeses, 1 abstention. The motion carries. Okay, Commissioners, we're going to change pace. Appeals and director's denials. Our issues now is that we'll ask those who testify from the telling the truth, and we'll go to staff and board balance to introduce order record.
Before I begin, just, Alderman Ryan, that does not work. Your microphone does not work at all. So we can't hear you speaking this. We need to project if you're so kind. I'm sorry for your location.
Absolutely.
Just so you're aware.
It's funny, each of us had that microphone set for us as we came in, everybody just.
Well, you guys would all prefer if I didn't have a microphone anyway, so. Okay, so I'm Bob Bettis with staff, and I will tell the truth. I need to enter in ordinances 64689, which is the enabling ordinance, as amended by 64925. And then the McKinley Heights ordinance, which is 67901, my PowerPoint and my presentation. What we have before you is an appeal to, this was a garage port that was constructed without a building permit. We received a complaint late last month, called the owner, explained the situation. They applied for permits. And when they applied for the permits, we figured out that they wanted to use stone as a face material on the alley side of the garage port. So let's go through some context real quick. Here we are just to the east of Jefferson. Alley context, it's typical alley. It's not street visible at all. So in McKinley Heights, this garage port complies completely except for the use of the stone. They allow for brick and siding, but any kind of a stone, be it artificial or natural, is not allowable material in the ordinance right now. The owners did so to match their house. This is their house on the right. So when they're working with their contractor, this is what they spec'd out to match their property. Explained that we cannot accept that and would require board approval. So this is where we are. They say that they want to do this. This is how they want to proceed, and I'll let them go into more detail on that. We have not heard an official statement from McKinley Heights. Their board is going through a bit of a change in staff, so we will have no official opinion from the neighborhood for this item. But given that, staff still recommends that the board uphold the effective denial as the use of stone is not allowable material for garages in McKinley Heights. Any questions for me?
Do you know if these piers are masonry?
They are. They're actually like a cinder block.
Okay.
That's a real stone.
It's an artificial stone. It's a stone veneer.
Okay, but it's actual stone. that was
Yeah, it's like a cultured stone.
not-
Wait, right? It's an artificial. Be wrong by terminology. I apologize, but
Oh, anything from the alderman or the neighborhood?
again, the neighborhood is not going to comment officially as they are changing kind of their membership right now. They don't have anybody to really make an official comment right now, and nothing from the elected official.
Thank you.
Yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah, come on.
I would have been able to guess, and they changed it.
For sure. Good evening, everyone. We have,
Before you begin, for the record,
Mhm.
your building, tell us your name,
okay, Deonda Gatlin,
your zip code,
63104.
is your testimony going to be true?
True, for sure. All right.
Proceed.
Okay, in an effort to create off-street parking on a very busy street, we sought out over the last 2 or 3 years to try to find a contractor to do our carport that was familiar with the historical code, and also McKinley Heights neighborhood. And in that process, we came across one of the contractors that had did another carport in our area. And when we gave him our deposit, he assured us that he was going to then go apply for the permit for the carport to be constructed, along with the materials and everything, to get approval basically for the carport. It wasn't until Bob contacted us to say, hey, this project doesn't have a permit, and although it is within the guidelines of the project, you can't go with the stone, but the stone had already been added to the facade, and it wasn't, we were not knowledgeable about that part, and we thought that we were following all the correct processes and procedures, only to find out that almost like we had the wool pulled over our eyes. So in order for us to go back, it'll just be kind of expensive and cumbersome for us to be this far in the project. And we were wondering if there would be any chance for an allowance to be allowed because of a couple things. It's not visible from the what is this? The street, it's not visible from the street, I'm sorry, guys.
I'm
And,
sitting next to it. So that's street.
yeah, thank you. And also, all of our neighbors are, in agreement that it's a great addition to our alley. And it's not an eyesore or a disturbance to anyone in our community. So we were just trying to see if there was any way that the board would allow this, just to match the stone of the house. It was built in 1904. It's one of the only houses kind of in our area on at least probably 2 or 3 blocks that have this design. It was built in 1904, so we tried to kind of match that. So that's pretty much the argument.
Yes, ma'am, do you actually know what product was used? Was it a cultured stone or?
I know it was a stone that was purchased from Home Depot or Menards, one of the two. I think that it is a cultured stone by chance. I just don't know exactly what the material is made, what exactly the material, but I could get that information.
Thank you.
I actually have it in my email
Oh, that'd be good.
that I could pull up by chance. I don't know if you guys.
Oh, it's a poured concrete. They poured into like looks like stone, but it's actually.
I mean, that's what this is. Most of the blocks are uniform in appearance, so I imagine that's what it is.
It might take me a bit to actually find it, maybe too long. So I don't want to hold you guys up. I got a billion things.
We're here to hear you.
Okay.
Well, if she finds it's cultured stone, I mean, that's a product that's something else on that.
Which color?
Tony's here.
Okay. It's a thin artificial stone. I'm looking up some of the different similar products, and that's pretty much the explanation of what it is.
I'm sorry. Could you-
A thin artificial stone.
It's like a very thin face. It's like it's probably like 2 inches thick. It's a veneer that adheres to the cinder block base on the columns.
Okay.
I have just a quick question.
Okay.
Is it plastic or is it?
No, it's actually stone.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually,
I've seen. the
yeah,
plastic
stone-ish
facades,
is
they
what
just
it-
don't
yeah.
last very
It's a
long.
concrete material.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
no problem.
So one other question for staff. So was this approved, did this actually go through permits? I mean, that's not in question, right?
It was constructed, it started without permits. It was then applied for after the fact. And it's met building code up to this point.
Okay, so it's really just the stone.
The only issue before you is the material that you see right here.
Thank you. So I move that the Preservation Board overturn the director's denial and allow this building to be, to remain as constructed.
Second. No, I think it's great she thought it was going to the proper sources. She just got screwed over by a contractor. She went above and beyond. Most people would have just put like a post. So.
Yeah.
Also, the lack of input from neighbors or the community
That's it.
says that they don't really mind this.
Yeah, and I think it's a nice touch that you're trying to match the architecture of the building. Obviously, it would have been good to kind of check that through the neighborhood, but you got through anyway. You haven't voted yet.
Okay, no,
Happy day.
thank you. I know, right?
Oh, that's a good question.
Did your contractor charge you the permit?
I think we did. Probably.
I don't know for
You should
sure.
check.
I'll check.
Because you might be doing it.
Yeah, I'll check with them for sure.
Okay, motion on the floor has been made and seconded. I'm gonna call the roll.
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Khalid, yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Orion, yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, yes or no?
Yes.
Statements on this vote, there are 7 yeses, 1 abstention. Your appeal is upheld.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
You do.
Okay. This should be the last month we have this set up, by the way. Doing room upgrades, so hopefully next month will be a little more.
So I have heard of a Shangri-La,
Have you?
the conference room at the airport has multimedia screens for virtual meetings
Yeah.
and different camera angles and snacks.
You know, the snack aspect.
That's true. I don't see why we couldn't go out to the airport.
I can give you 10 reasons, but if you want, you want. Bob Bettis with staff, I'll still tell the truth. Sorry. May I proceed, sir? Bob Bettis staff, tell the truth. And enter in ordinances 64689 as amended by 64925, which is the enabling ordinance. This time it's in Central West End, it's 69423, presentation and the PowerPoint. Okay, we have a really cool house, 50 Waterman Place in the Central West End Local Historic District. Next.
The address under the picture in our thing says 4397 Westminster, so just for the record, correct one of.
It's really 50 Waterman Place.
Just want to
That's-
make sure.
Yeah, it's
Is that 51 place picture there?
that is. I apologize for the error.
I just wanted to make sure it was correct.
Yeah,
for the record.
under staff presentation,
Yes.
it also does not this year.
Just for the sake of ease, I'm going to do the presentations this evening. Andy is running the show.
Proceed.
Again, I apologize for the error. That's my fault on the presentation. Central West End Local Historic District. Here's the location. Next. Here's some street level context. The building in question is on the left, and on the right, looking that way. It's obviously intact gray block. Next. Okay, so the project entails this. On the side of the building, on the east side of the building, there used to be a deck that was a single story, well, 2 decks, and they were not connected. Second floor deck is still in place, although it's in really rough shape. There used to be a first floor deck that is now has been removed some time ago. The new plan calls for restoring the first floor deck, placing the second floor deck, and connecting the 2. It's hard to see with the lights kind of washed out there. Here you go. Thank you. Original handrail. There was a bracketed system that held the second floor deck in place, but it is really deteriorated and needs to be replaced. The proposal calls for rebuilding the decks, but having a corner post that connects the 2 instead of doing a bracketed system at the second floor. This is being done essentially to prevent some over-engineering. The manager for the project is here. She can speak further on that. Essentially, this was deemed to be the best solution construction-wise to add the post. The issue, Central West End, since it's a street visible item, it needs to be replicated. So the post is obviously a new item. The use of Trex decking, which will be on the floor and the sides, is not original materials. The handrail, although pretty close, is not exact to what was there originally. So we have a few items that do not replicate the original. So staff could not approve it at our level. We do not have any comment from Central West End on this item or from elected officials. So again, no comment from the neighborhood or the elected official. This is the side view of the porch, and a section detail as well. Next. Okay. So again, the ordinance requires that items be replicated. Deviations again include the post, the handrails, and the materials. The first floor porch is in roughly the same configuration and shape as the original. So given the deviations from the design, staff recommends the board uphold the director's denial. Any questions?
Bob, how old is the existing balcony? in your opinion?
It looks like it might be original, right? We think it's,
It's original.
yeah.
Yeah.
There are some ghost lines in the first floor. It definitely looks like it's older, way it's attached to the building. Yeah, it's most likely original, or if not, I think it's historic. I mean, if
It
it's
would
not,
fit the definition of historic.
I believe so, yes.
And the ghost lines you see on the first floor, it shows a deck going all the way across as they want to build. Is that true?
That is correct. Sorry, I can't see it. It's kind of washed out here. I apologize.
And historically, we wouldn't have seen brackets go out to hold up a first floor deck, so there probably was a post at that corner.
Actually,
Well, there are some. I mean,
from the ghost lines, it actually looks that like it was bracketed.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Just one more quick. Has the staff sort of counter proposed any approach that would be
Well,
more
yeah.
acceptable? Would it be brackets on each floor and a matching railing?
yeah, we discussed that early on, trying to figure out the best way to do that, but the builder was not comfortable doing that without over engineering it. We have these giant brackets versus these very delicate ones that are there now. So the owner, working with the manager of the project, decided that this was the way they wished to go. So it was discussed, but this was the way they want to proceed.
But with those oversized brackets, we probably would still be here.
Most likely because it wouldn't replicate the original appearance. That's correct. Yeah, good call.
Is the reason for the oversized bracketing, if they were to do the oversized bracketing, is that just a safety issue?
Strictly engineering and safety and modern building code. That where would not meet modern building code. So they have to definitely have beefier brackets, cantilever more into the building itself, the joists. But that's the problem also with putting the joists into the building itself. Probably to meet code would be a lot more invasive inside the structure as well.
Okay, thank you.
So why can't they reuse the railings on the side?
They're not current building code height.
Okay, we've got the project manager side. Where are you at?
Taylor Houston, 63116.
Said, underscore.
The existing railing at the second floor is like 32 inches high, so it just doesn't meet code. What we were planning on doing was getting somebody to custom fabricate as close to the correct spacing that is there at the new height. So we'll make sure that it is a code compliant railing while trying to stay as true as we can to what is there. The bracketing issue, it was a concern of construction as well as it was going to be a deviation regardless. So we thought that putting a post, which is traditional in some other neighborhoods in the city, but we understand it's not in this one. Trying to at least stick to something that looks a little bit more in the historic profile of what we have seen in the neighborhood at least would be a less invasive manner than trying to install a new bracketing system that doesn't match what's there already anyway. The framing of it needs to get beefed up to also just meet building code. So this was kind of the simplest solution that we could come up with that we thought still would be an approachable direction for this project.
Put on the record.
I don't think so.
Let's hear some questions.
The panel facing the street currently divided into 4 sections and the drawing shows 3 on the elevation.
The railing,
The railings. Yeah. Possible to do that with 4 sections. Come closer to the historic level.
we could look at that. The way that our software was working and trying to get the spacing modeled, I think is just where that lined up, because they're also spaced a little wider than is allowed. But when we actually get into fabrication, we could probably get really close to what's there. They'll just be narrower.
Question for staff. Bob, you mentioned they were gonna use track stacking. Is that what they're calling for? What would
Yes.
staff prefer them?
Wood.
Is there any other material change you'd like to see on this project?
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question if there, so the owner currently does have a back deck that is permitted and already approved. They do have Trex on that deck. The intention of the Trex is obviously for a low maintenance product. Would there be any room to still use Trex but be able to hide the edges with painted wood trim in order to disguise what that looks like? Or would you not approve that kind of layout?
I would need to see a detail of that to really comment on it. Generally, we probably would see the exposed ends of the,
Usually, yeah.
so prefer to see that in a more formal appearance. With wood, Trex just looks a little bit clunky sometimes on the end. It's a good product, but the ends look a little problematic. If there's some kind of a freeze board that covers it up, it's still going to look a little unusual.
What about the 8-inch concrete footing visible from the street? That's not a staff could approve.
It has to have a pier. We usually like to have them about 8 inches above grade so that it just doesn't get moisture rot. I think landscaping could solve that. We're not going to take it up to the bottom of the deck. Like the hostas that you see there would pretty much cover that. So I don't know that that would necessarily be an issue, but it is a new addition.
Devices, the hostas cover everything.
I mean, we could do that, but
They probably cover the house.
We could suggest also a lattice screen if possible that could be put in there in some way to minimize that appearance as well. That's an idea. It's something we often see on bottom, first floor porches and decks.
Bob, you think you could work with them?
I believe we can.
Taylor, you think you can work with them?
Yes, I move that we overturn the director's contingent on final approval of details and materials from the Cultural Resources Office staff.
Any further discussion?
Does that mean what? Or does that mean we're leaving it at the bottom?
That's up to Bob.
Well, it's up to Andy. I'm just, again, just filling in.
I should have asked you. You work with Taylor?
Yes.
Okay. This is gonna call a roll. Commissioner Allen, yes or no?
Yes, I vote yes.
Commissioner Abbott, you vote yes or no?
Yes,
Commissioner Hamilton, you vote yes or no?
yes,
Commissioner Cole, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Alderman Ryan, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Chair abstains on this vote. There are 7 yeses, there's 1 abstention, and it was a no. Okay. Commissioners. Commissioner Abbott.
Well, here we are again.
This is a horizontal board fence.
Sure is.
Do I hear a motion?
Should I enter in my stuff?
Okay.
5 minutes, staff, tell the truth. Enabling ordinance 64689 as amended by 64925, Benton Park, ordinance 67175, presentation of my PowerPoint and my firstborn child.
Is it already installed?
Okay, so quick background. They began construction without a permit. They were about halfway through. We got the phone call. I went out, placed a stop work order. The owners called me immediately. They thought their guy got a permit as well. I talked to their contractor. He didn't understand. He was not he doesn't work in the city very often, so he was confused. Set him straight. They've been great to work with. I mean, I said the contractor straight, not the owners. They've been great to work with. They applied right away. So they're about halfway done when I went out there. It is in Benton Park. It is next door to one that we did last month. And Benton Park is in support of the homeowners.
They are.
They are.
Okay, great.
Yes. I move that we overturn the director's denial and approve the horizontal board fence.
Discussion here, none, I'll call the roll. Commissioner Allen, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Howard, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Hamilton, you vote yes or no? Commissioner Green, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Ryan, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Richardson, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Commissioner Robinson, you vote yes or no?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Carson,
Sorry, it scared me.
there are seven yeses, one abstention, your appeal is upheld.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Commissioner-
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I have a motion before we adjourn. I move that we have a potluck next month. Everybody bring a tree, Christmas tree of some kind, holiday. Anybody want a second?
Second.
It's a reminder, the meeting is on the 18th of next month.
Can we amend that to final details contingent on approval by the cultural resources? officer?
Is it a load-bearing crock pot? I don't know.
Our secret Santa.
And guys, before you leave, will you please stay seated? You all please stay seated.
Stay seated.
Yes, after you adjourn. Are you done? Adjourn?
So, Great. Motion for adjourn, seconded. Hearing no objection, stand.
But don't stand.
These are we-
Please.